let us read Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 to 28. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is suffering terribly from demon possession." Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." Jesus answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs." "Yes, Lord," she said, "but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed from that very hour. There are a few things that I would like to point out concerning this particular portion. First, Matthew describes this woman as a Canaanite. Do you remember who the enemies of Israel were? We just studied that in our Bible study. The Canaanites. We also find people from outside the borders of this nation to be our enemies. A lot of people bombard the media with information to fuel the hatred against non-Americans. Second, Jesus did not answer a word. Why would he want to ignore her? Some people think that because Jesus was in the company of other Jews in a foreign country, he did not want to offend them by being as casual with the Canaanites as with them. How do you think that you would respond if you went to Mexico with a group of other Americans? You don't want anybody to bother you. And a Mexican lady comes to meet you, asking you for help. Third, the disciples asked Jesus to send her away. Whatever the case, they just did not want to be bothered or interrupted by her. We do similar things. We tend to dismiss people that are not of our circle of friends. We consider them irrelevant and unimportant. Fourth, after she knelt down and insisted to ask for help, Jesus responded that he was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. In other words, she was not part of Jesus' agenda. Not yet. Let me ask, is the church for Christian believers only? In other words, do we only accept the people that think like we do, or that we like only? Lastly, we hear Jesus respond that he could not give the children's bread and toss it to their dogs. Jews refer to Gentiles as dogs. Do we not have negative terms or derogatory expressions when we talk about other people that are not like us, or people that we dislike? This passage of Scripture has been used in certain circles to justify discrimination, to treat someone differently because of their origin, race, gender, just to name a few. In this case, a Greek, a Syrophoenician woman, as Mark describes her, or a Canaanite, a Gentile, a dog. Is that correct? Is it possible that Jesus would discriminate in that way? Let's take a closer look and debunk this discrimination theory. First, to counterattack the point concerning how Jesus and Matthew, as Jewish men, viewed the Gentiles, let's talk about the book of Matthew. Matthew was written as a teaching manual to help the church in its early stages. This book was written mainly for the Jewish people. What is amazingly beautiful about this book is that there are at least 18 different passages that involve Gentiles with Jesus' ministry. Second, to dispel the negative thought about rejecting people of other nations, because Jesus said that he was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel, I would like us to consider two facts. First, Jesus was only one man, and that limited him to minister to the people of Israel only. At the time of the event of our present interest, Jesus was preparing his disciples to later reach the rest of the world, which is how we are here, worshiping him. Second, in the book of John, Jesus speaks of other sheep. In chapter 11, John further declares that Jesus died not only for the Jewish nation, but the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. That is the church. That is this church. We come from many places, but here we are one. Third, I grant you the fact that the disciples may have wanted to dismiss this lady. It was not easy for Peter to understand that the Gentiles were included in God's plan. Fourth, let us consider that Matthew was not talking about the enemies of Israel when he described her as a Canaanite. But since Mark describes her as a Syrophoenician woman, a Greek, we understand that he was describing a person from one of the nations surrounding Israel. Fifth, to dismiss the argument that Jesus was ignoring the Canaanite woman, we could interpret Jesus' initial silence as a way to test this woman. The woman had a very positive attitude. She did not feel offended because there was no reason for that. She understood her place. She knew who she was talking to, the Jewish Messiah, the Son of David, the Lord. She knew she could put her faith in Jesus, and that is what Jesus acknowledged and praised her for that. Verse 28, then Jesus answered,